I just want to welcome everyone here. We had a great turnout. A lot more people than I thought would show up. All the candidates, well, we're short 2 candidates actually, I think. Mike Warren is not here, and Mike Cuff. So we're just gonna make do with what we got. I'm gonna let everyone kind of. Oh, that works. There we go. Thank you. We're going to pass the mic around and let the candidates introduce themselves. I want to start by thanking the lady who made this possible. Actually, a lady in Silver Lake. I won't give her name, but she donated $100 to my campaign to pay for the building and the food tonight. And I just want to really thank her for doing that, because she really felt like this needed to happen for everyone here in Lakeview included, so that they could get a chance to meet their town council candidates and hear from them, so that they get to hear from you what you think is important, what's on your minds, and also so you get to know them and how they might think about things. This is not an official meeting of any kind. This is just a meet and greet. So we can exchange thoughts and ideas, open up meaningful dialectics between candidates and the citizens of Lake County. So anyway, with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Barb, who's going to be the moderator tonight. She is also going to be the bouncer. So, I chose Barb because she really is a wonderful person with a great personality, and she's also very good at telling people where to go. And she's really good at skinning a deer. So you've all been warned. So don't argue with the moderator. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to turn it over, and then the candidates will introduce themselves. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to be here timing people. And thank you guys for letting us do this. And thank you, James, Bruce, Nikki, Mike, and Scott for being here. We appreciate this. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Nikki Taylor. I am not a native to Lakeview. Came here on St. Patty's Day, I believe 7 years ago, and met my fantastic husband, and fell in love with this town. I have been here now, I think, roughly 6 years. I have 5 children, a few jobs. Those that know me, one of my biggest prides is recruiting and training Lake County child care providers, since it's a major shortage here. And I also do parent education and have a few side businesses that I do that are also my passion. I am running for town council because for years I've been going off and on to town council meetings. And honestly, my husband talks about Lakeview and how great it used to be. I believe it's still great. I just would like to see it be rebuilt from the losses of the industry we've had here that has kind of hurt our town. And so that's one of the many reasons. I have a long list of projects that I would love to see happen here in Lakeview. And I just feel that I have the energy and the passion, and children from 18 till 1, so I'm going to be here a long time putting my kids through the education system and all the sports and all the other activities. So I think that, we need somebody here for the long run, and that is something I'm definitely interested in. And I'll pass this off to Scott.
I'm Scott Langdon. I've been in Lakeview for about 2 years. My wife is 4th generation here. My grandparents lived here for over 40 years. We've been here about 40 years.
Put the mic on.
Is that better? I'm running for town council. I think that I could be there to help make some changes. I got 30 years of experience in heavy highway construction, 25 years in management, and there definitely needs to be some changes. There needs to be some things down, a new set of eyes on what's going on here. I don't think that there's a lot of information that gets to the public.
We can't hear you, I'm sorry. We can't hear you.
Is that better?
Keep it in there.
A little more? There you go. Okay. And, you know, the water is a big issue here, and I have some experience with water systems. I've worked on quite a few in South Lake Tahoe, City of Redding, Mount Shasta City, City of Weed, and some in Southern California. So hopefully I could help out with the changes and the upgrades to the water system. And that's primarily why I'm running.
Hi, my name is Mike Wooders. We've been here for like 14 years. My wife works at the prison. She's a sergeant out there. And the reason I'm running for town council is because we did daycare. We did foster care for 8 years. And so we didn't have our head into the game of what is going on in town. Once we quit foster care, we started seeing things in the town we didn't like. And when we started going to town council meetings, it was apparent that there was a lack of honesty and transparency with upper management and the town council. And everyone in this town deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. And that doesn't come from there either. And if I'm voted in, that is one of my major peeves, is turning the town around and letting the people know what's going on. If the town council had let people know about the water management plan 2 months before they did and held that meeting 6 weeks before they did, that would have relieved a ton of tension in this town. And there wouldn't have been the contention that was going back and forth. And that's just one example, one major example of their lack of honesty and transparency. So if I'm voted in, that's where I'm going.
Right, thank you.
My name is Mike Cuff. I'm running for town council. Can everybody hear me in the back?
This is Mike.
Well, I know I'm not using the mic. But can everybody hear me with or without the mic?
No.
All right. My name is Mike Cuff. I'm running for town council. I don't have a platform, but I care about this town. I've been here going on 7 years. 3 of my kids have gone to school. I apologize for being late, but I had to watch my daughter serve the volleyball one time before I came over for the game tonight. I've been pretty deeply involved with the youth in this town, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, athletics. I'm involved with the Alger Theater, as many of you know. We need to get that thing back open again. You know, that has been the mainstay, one of the mainstays of this town for many, many years. And it's sitting over there waiting to be used. The other part about this town that I really, really love is for the people that are sitting here and the ones that are unable to make it, you're the ones that make the difference. We had to pull Renbait a couple of years ago. Who did that? We did it. When Mike Patrick was mayor and he said, you know what? We need to get this swimming pool fixed so we can start doing organized athletics by the book. Who fixed that? We did it. We put the money in the pot. We did the fundraisers. We did all of those things. And we can sure in hell do the same thing about the water system in this town. You know, I too have a background in water. You know, and I helped the town of Paisley when they had some problems a few months ago. You know, and it was very simple stuff. We all know it revolves around money, but there's money to be used. There's money to be had out there. Where in the hell is it? It's not here. Our people, our children, our families deserve better than what we have right now. And we can do it. We got to get off our butts as a town, as a community, and make it happen. I'm willing to help do that. I've got a lot of background with a lot of people doing a lot of things. And I like this town enough to where I'm willing to go and donate my time and work with each of you, whatever the heck it is we can do to make this town better. Because it's there, the potential's there. We've got the people in this town that are more than qualified to fix this stuff. But we need an invitation. it seems like. We've got elected officials. I saw a thing on Facebook earlier today. You know, electronic media, social media right now is taking over what we used to know or hear on the radio and on TV and in the newspaper. But it's taken over. So in order to stay ahead of this ball game, we've got to stay attuned to what's going on electronically. So one of the things I saw in there was, how many police chiefs have we had in the last year? What the heck? You know? So I mean, that needs to be helped too, okay? But I think we're down to 1 police officer right now. That sucks. That's horrible. How do we fix it? 2 minutes? I'm not? Okay. So, Bruce, look at you. So, I'm just here to help, you know, and if I'm elected, I'll do my darndest to do what I can do to help this town that I really, really care and love. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
He could really keep talking, and that'd be okay with me. I'm just getting over a cold, so. I'm Bruce Levin. I ran before in 2016 and lost in a very narrow election. And one of the reasons for doing it back then was I was unhappy with the way a lot of things were done or not done around Lake County. There are a lot of issues that just get swept underneath the table, and it's, if anything, it's even worse now than it was then. There are issues like poor road maintenance and repair, veteran services in the North County, that certainly is an issue. One really big issue is the county not even enforcing its own ordinances on property that it owns. You know, for instance, there's a lot of dumps, you know, trash that's just been dumped. There's ordinances against that, and some of them are on county land, and they don't even take care of that themselves. They did appoint an enforcement officer, and that didn't go anywhere. That she wasn't supported and left. Serious issue countywide in law enforcement. You folks know about it here in town, of course. There's a lot of questions about the future of the Lakeview Police Department. Should there be one? Should it be merged with the sheriff? Should the town contract with the sheriff? There's a lot of good questions. That's another issue that I have, which is decision making. A lot of decisions seem to be made in some mysterious way, and nobody quite knows why. For instance, the decision for the county to take over the dump. I've talked to people, and that, it appears from the folks that I talked with, it was not properly really debated. It just happened. So people didn't have much choice. It was just done the way they wanted it to be done. That was an issue in 2016. It's still an issue. Yeah, some of you again know me, but my background, I've worked for more than 50 years. I'm older than dirt. As an engineer, as a manager, project leader, I've managed large and small groups of people, large and small budgets, and I have a lot of experience at identifying problems and really defining the problem, and you have to do that before you can work out a solution. So, thank you.
James Williams, again. I'm from Summer Lake, Oregon. I was born and raised there with my family. Most of my family still live there. I was asked a question tonight, and I'm going to answer it up here as to why I'm running for county commissioner. At the time, when it was pitched to me, Dan Chown announced he was stepping down, and he was the most northern commissioner that we've had in a long time. I was a neighbor to George Carlin, who some folks here might know. He was a commissioner here for a while. And when my family announced, told me that I needed to run, I said no. I said no about 3 more times after that. It was far beyond anything that I've ever done before. I've never run for political office. This is all new territory to me. But I am learning so very fast and learning more about my county, and I really, really have been overwhelmed by the people and the concerns that people have in this county. From the north to the south, Fort Rock, Christmas Valley, Silver Lake, all the way down through Plush and Adel and here. And there is an element of people feeling like they're not heard. And I just want to let people know that I'm listening, and that someone is listening. And that's what it comes down to for a lot of folks, is they want to know that they're being represented and that someone is there for them. So, and that's why I'm running, and that is my answer to that question. Thank you. I'm going to open it up for some questions from the audience. There are some cards in the back of the room where people can feel free to write them down if you're uncomfortable voicing them. But I want people to feel free to just stand up and ask questions. We're just going to let this flow tonight. And direct your questions, if you can, towards the town council members, if the question is for them, or to the commissioner candidates over here. And we will try to answer them as best we can. Thank you.
So anybody who has a question, you can raise your hand and I'll pick you. We'll go on. Come on, Karen. Here.
I just wanted to know who's in charge of letting marijuana in Lakeview, the shops.
So town council voted that in. And that's something that I personally also have a problem with because our county or our town says no by a very large percentage. So regardless of what the town people voted, the town council passed it anyways. And that is one of the reasons I also want to run for town council. I feel like if the community says no or yes on something, we need to follow through with that and respect the wishes of the vast majority. It was a landslide, 90-some%, I believe, that passed by. So that is what happens inside the town. If it was county, it would be a commissioner issue.
Thank you, Nikki.
So, I have a little bit of a background in this. I was a drug abuse counselor for the Navy for 3 years. I primarily dealt with heroin addicts for that 3 years. Regardless of what may be put out on the street, I personally believe that it's a gateway drug. But I also know that alcohol has its disadvantages also as a recovering alcoholic. So personally with Nikki, that stuff don't need to be in this town, it don't need to be in this county, and that's the way I feel.
I agree with you. I don't think it needs to be here. There was an individual that kind of promoted that and brought it to Lakeview that's on the council. And it's just, I mean, the advertising that they were doing on the streets, the truck that was running around town with the banners all over it and everything, which is against OLCC regulation. And it's finally a stop. But, you know, it's bad enough to have one, but two, and possibly 3 or 4 more that are looking to come to Lakeview. Something needs to be done about it.
Yes, I'm totally against the sale of marijuana. I was an undercover narcotics officer with CNET, it's Southeast Alaska Narcotics Enforcement Team. And I bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of drugs from people. And these people all started with marijuana. I believe it's a gateway drug. And I bought drugs from people that couldn't hardly stand up, couldn't walk, couldn't talk. And they thought they were just doing the right thing. But if they had never started marijuana, they may have not been there.
Do you want to focus this question first, commissioners too, or just town council? All right.
Can we have those stamps? They are.
Okay. Well, I don't live in the town, but I.
Did you guys stand up?
Stand up. That makes me a bigger target. I don't know if I like it. That came up in 2016 when it was on the ballot, and I was asked questions, some very pointed questions, both in North County and here. And I gave my honest opinion. That's one of the things that I do. I'm not smart enough to keep my mouth shut, so if you ask me a question, I'll give you my best answer. And I agree that the gateway drug theory seems to be pretty well established. There's also a lot of information that shows that there are addictive personalities. And so some people can try a drug, whether it's Pendleton whiskey, which I like, or something else, and they don't get addicted, and other people do it once, and they're hooked. And there's a lot of evidence to that. I didn't think that we needed it in the county, so I gave my explanation as I just summarized right there. And but then I answered the question that I wasn't asked, which is, well, how are you going to? I was not asked how are you going to vote, but I offered it up anyway, and I said I'm going to vote no. And I had people come up afterward and tell me that's probably the reason I lost a very, very close election in 2016, because people, they wanted it. That was here in the Lakeview Forum when that happened. They wanted it, and I said I'm going to vote against it. And I wasn't asked that question, so I should have kept my mouth shut. Thank you.
When the vote came up, I voted against it. I am, of course, from Summer Lake. It was a county issue to me, and the county commissioners put it to the people of Lake County, and the county voted no. And that is the answer to that question. The people want to know, and I stand behind that decision. And that's where I still stand, and that's the way it is right now. Within the town of Lakeview, it is a town issue. The town actually does have that ability to do that, but whether or not the town had the right to do it without everyone else's approval, that is something that unfortunately the town is going to have to work out with the voters and the citizens of Lakeview. But I stand with the commissioner's office that is what they're going to support. The voters of Lake County, they're going to support the majority, and the majority voted no. And that's where the commissioners stand, that's where I stand.
I see it. Oh, yep, Ginger.
So this question is for Nikki Taylor. You mentioned in your introduction that you had several different projects that you were interested in seeing happen, and I just wanted to know what those might be.
So I've decided that I'm a perpetual project person. My husband, thank goodness, he is very loving because I get these crazy ideas and I go with it. So I have a very long list. My short list, obviously the water is an issue. That's something I want to see with the least financial impact to our community fixed. I see there's a long-term project. I'm very aware. I've been to those meetings. That's one. I would love to see, as Mike mentioned, the Algier Theater being restored, somehow rehabilitated. I know there's a group of people working on that. I would love to support that. Another issue is I'm working on bringing a child care center into Lakeview. I think something like that is very well needed here. It would be a long-term project that would bring in long-term results to help our community bring in employees, which is a major issue here. Let's see, what else I have on my project list. I would like to see some of our bylaws and ordinances and all of our regulations as a town updated, make them a little bit more 2018, and ensure that all of our employees have contracts, which is something that I'm aware that not all of our town employees have contracts. Not only for our town's benefit, but also for our employees' benefit. I'd also like to see some ordinances passed, possibly. My issue with the marijuana, I don't agree with somebody standing out there in elaborate costume where my 14-year-old gets to see it or my 3-year-old gets to see it and see a flag being waved around. I do have friends with OLCC, I've discussed it regarding it. Apparently there's not a whole lot we can do about it right now. And that's something else is I'd like to see if we're going to have those shops here, we have some regulations similar to alcohol and tobacco. That's my short list. I'm always on time.
Next question. Kyle, coming right back to you. I'm getting my exercise tonight.
Nice.
Okay, walk with me.
My name is Kyle Butler, and I, along with my wife, we're admins for Lakeview Forum. So we've got a really important question to the prospective or the candidates for town council. It's come to our attention that the town charter was changed, I believe, to to basically allow an executive who is unelected to be able to make executive decisions without the people's input and without their vote. I was wondering, and many of the people here in this town are wondering what you would do to change that so the townspeople's voice are heard or is heard, and that an executive making decisions on the town's behalf is responsible to the people.
I'm coming.
Okay, the town charter was changed in 2011, and it gave, the town council has the authority, the power, to appoint a town manager. The town manager is answerable to no one but them for everything she or he does. Sorry. So, the town council gave up their power to oversee the administrative duties of the town. The town manager has that exclusive right. The town council can only pass ordinances or make suggestions to him or her. And one of the things that I would do is, as soon as I am elected, I will ask the mayor to appoint a town charter committee. Somebody that can go through the town charter, the bylaws, the code of conduct. My goodness, the code of conduct looks like a 3-year-old wrote it. The spelling errors, the no continuity, it's deplorable. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that's what I would do. I would ask for a charter committee to set and make new rules.
So I agree 1,000,000% with Nikki. Policies, procedures, laws, regulation, ordinances are behind. They need to be reviewed, they need to get updated, and they need to embrace the future of Lakeview. And we can't do that without good leadership. Right now, it's very obvious to me that we're lacking in leadership for the town of Lakeview. We need that. If we're going to survive, if we're going to continue on to have this town be as good as it is and make it better, we got to take the bull by the horn to get it fixed, and you got to start at the top. You know, so I agree, Nikki, 1,000,000%. You know, if I get elected, I'd be more than willing to help pound through all of that paperwork, because I mean, it's a pain in the butt. I also agree the code of conduct. I called up the town clerk a couple of weeks ago and I said, so tell me what the rules and regs are for running for office. And I call it the Marine salute. And well, no, I don't know. I said, well, where can I find that information about what I can and cannot do if I'm running for office in Lake County or in Lakeview? Well, I don't know. Well, darn it, why don't you? You know? So, I mean, you know, it's just these little simple things. And it's not pointing a finger. It's just that folks don't know. We need to educate them. We need to use this forum and other forums that we have available to educate the people that we have in this town and this county, to get them up to speed so they know what the heck's going on. And right now, we ain't doing it.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. There was somebody by Kyle that had their hand up for a question. Oh. Here you go, Mr. Rich.
Thank you. Some of us would like to know about the reevaluation of BLM lands.
That question is directed towards commissioners.
Anyone who can shed light on that, yes.
short answer is I don't know much about it. There is a meeting, I think it's next Tuesday, and there's been lots of studies. There's a lot of concerns about them closing off land. I find it really annoying the way so-called federal lands are managed now. An example, years ago, a buddy of mine and I ride dirt bikes, and we've done a lot of work on the trails all around in the wilderness. And we got an award from the Forest Service, a nice frame plaque one year for all the hours we put in maintaining trails for all users. And the next time we went back up there were signs that the trails were closed. And I don't know why decisions like that are made, and I don't really know who seems to be in charge. I do know, what I understand, is that the federal administration, the Trump administration, has called for a reorganization of several departments. One of them is agriculture. And one of the things they're looking at is possibly eliminating some agencies, combining them, so that there's really not 3 or 4 or 6 different agencies in a given area. There might be 1 or 2. I also think state control, at least we know where they live. We don't like what they decide. So.
So, I only just became aware of this last 2 days ago. So I called up some people and I asked them questions about it. Apparently there was a lawsuit that came down from ONDA, and the BLM is now mandated by the government or by the courts to do a reevaluation of chunks of the BLM land. I'm not entirely sure exactly what this looks like. Again, the meetings that they've had so far have been with the commissioners and the BLM and the Fish and Wildlife, I believe. And they're talking about what this is going to look like. I don't think they all have an understanding of what this is going to look like either. I think there's a bunch of options on the table of what it could look like. One of them is, of course, that a lot of these chunks of federal land, some of them quite big, could be restricted. Again, my understanding is that actually a lot of the folks at the BLM, and I haven't actually met a lot of them yet. I'd like to, but unfortunately I'm working rather long days right now. It sounds to me like they're not actually in support of closing down any federal lands or locking them up. They say that actually no private land will be affected, but then again, a lot of these chunks of land surround private land. Again, they are mandated to do this. There's a meeting on the 16th at 1 o'clock. I am urging everyone that has questions about it to go. The BLM is to answer a lot of questions there and to explain. They've been urged by the commissioners to explain why they're being mandated to do this. And so they're going to address those things there. And if you guys have questions, I urge you to go there and listen to them. The commissioners have requested a seat at the table by being a cooperative agency. By being a cooperative agency, it gives us a lot of leeway to fight it even with our own county money if it looks like they actually do want to proceed with restricting either ATV access or hunting or whatever categories it is. And a lot of these lands, they include wilderness, I think it's wilderness aspects. I'm not entirely sure what the terminology was. Again, I'm reading about this and studying up on it late at night after getting home from work. And I've only had a couple days to do that. So anyway, my time's up.
Oh, and here.
So earlier I failed to mention that I was born and raised at Clackamas, and when I was growing up, Clackamas Town Center wasn't there. It was strawberry fields, and that's where I used to pick berries when I was a kid. I joined the Navy a long time ago, spent a long time with the Navy, ended up in San Diego. I'm an avid off-roader, I'm an ATV instructor, UTV instructor. Hopefully this year I'll be a dirt bike instructor. My background has been a lot of riding and racing since I was 12 years old. But let me share with you about this ONDA thing, and let me share with you about land grab, and let me share with you about what happens when we give the power away from we the people to the government. And I have to be extremely careful because I am a current federal employee. But I will share with you this. Some of you may know about the Imperial Sand Dunes in Imperial County in California. I have a house that is about 45 miles from there. I was directly involved with the management on the civilian side of the house, the management of the dunes collection fees quite a few years ago. Well, let me share with you this. If we don't stick our nose in their business, and what I mean by that is the land management folks, and even ONDA for that matter, that land that we have out here east of town will get sectioned off. ONDA already has sectioned off or identified wilderness areas on the west side of the road out there that I've been on a couple of different times. If we don't stick our nose in their business, they're going to get the land. They've got the money. They've got the authority, they've got the power, they've got all of those things. We need to hold the land management folks accountable for what the heck they're doing with our land.
Questions? Mary?
I want to address this to the people that are running for town council. You're talking about ordinances and things. I'm really, my big beef is that we have ordinances, but nobody sees that they're taken care of. I mean, we have dead cars everywhere. We have people with appliances in their yards, and it's beginning to look really junky. And it doesn't do any good to have those ordinances if someone's not going to enforce them. So tell me how you would go about doing that.
Nikki?
So that's one of the things that drove me nuts the first time I moved here. And I'm a little OCD. I'm a little bit. I like a nice tidy yard. I like fences that are in good maintenance. And when I asked about them, I was a little surprised that they had some, but not a lot. So I think the biggest thing is they did try to hire an enforcement officer. I think there's some budget issues we have right now, and I think we need to look at those budget issues and see where we can fund that officer. Same with like the dog issue. That's one of the issues I very much cannot stand myself because I've never seen it so rampant. And it can be a revenue system. Yes, there's some enforcement, there's some growing pains, but I think that that's probably going to be the solution. There's a lot of communities that are very small that have that enforcement there. The biggest thing is you just got to follow through. And you got to find the right person willing to have some tough skin for that job. Because I know at one point I looked at that job in Albany, Oregon, and I thought, ooh, do I want to do this every day? God led me on a different path that time, thank goodness, because that did not look super appealing. But I think it needs to happen, and that's where our values will go up, and our pride in our community will go up. And it needs to happen with our businesses as well. And we have some great community members with Occupy E Street that are working on increasing, you know, the beautification of our community, especially our businesses. And we need to do our part as residents as well.
So one of the reasons why my family moved to Lakeview 7 years ago, going on 7 years ago, was we drove into town coming up north on 395, and I didn't see any graffiti. So that tells me that told me at the time that we had police involvement, we had community involvement, we had parental involvement, we had a bunch of good kids in this town. So upon further investigation, I found 3 places in town that had graffiti. My boys and I, when we moved here, painted over 2 of those. The business owner that owns the grain tower over here, I talked to him personally. I said, look, you donate the paint, my boys and I will paint it. He refused to do that. I don't know who in the heck it is that put the monument on the south end of town that says kind of welcome to Lakeview, happy holidays, but I'd like to give him a hug because that's cool. You know, we have some really good people in this town, and you know what, if it's an ordinance thing that's not being enforced, then we need to find out who the boss is and hold the boss accountable. That's what they get paid to do. You know, I mean, I understand bureaucracy, believe me, I've been in it for going on 50 years, and I really understand that. But there's always someone that we can say, hey, so what can we do to fix it? We can get volunteers to help, if we have to. So, I just think that we need to start taking care of our own. You know, obviously it's a money issue, it's a manpower issue. You know, we don't have the people, we don't have the time. So what? Let's fix it.
I own Warner Valley Property Management, and since we've taken that over last year, we've cleaned up quite a few properties in Lakeview. And the big deal, a lot of these properties that are in the shape that they are in are owned by out-of-town owners. And a lot of them aren't aware of what's going on with the property. And, you know, it was a challenge for my wife and I when we took over to get the owners to spend the money to do it, but we've been pretty successful at it. One of our bigger projects right now is the old Mountain Breeze in the south end of town. We've spent a lot of time down there with the new owner who lives out of town, and we're working on getting that cleaned up. But there is ordinances, and it does need to be enforced. And it, you know, it does come to a money thing, but it does not take a lot of money for you to be clean. For you to clean up your property, keep your house clean, and keep things in good maintenance. And the town itself needs to enforce that regulation.
The ordinances that we have come from the top. So the enforcement of the ordinances needs to come from the top. Keeps interrupting me. Enforcement needs to come from the top down also. The town council passes ordinances. They give the authority to enforce those ordinances to the town manager. It's the town manager's duty to have these ordinances enforced, whether it's by the police, whoever has to do it, she needs to direct them to do it. That's not being done. It needs to be done. So from the top down, when I get in, I'm going to start from the top and work down. It's just something that has to be done, and we can do it. This town needs to take pride in itself. Not everybody does. And if those who don't take pride in themselves, we will make them take pride in us.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to do some more questions. Let's go to this young man over here. Young man. Here you go.
Hi, Lawrence LeClaire. The question's probably going to be a hot topic because I know I've seen really good people that on both sides of this, we're talking about making the town better, improving the town, progress. I want to know what your vision of progress is and whether you support things like Red Rock, other businesses coming in. If you have any plans or ideas that might help bring more people, good people to the town, that could raise our standard of living to the right point. Because I know in order to pay for all this stuff that we're talking about, we don't all want to dig into our own pockets. We want people to come to the town. We want people to invest in the schools, invest in the children, and invest in the streets and everything like that. In order to do that, you need to grow. I would like to know what your guys, especially the county as well, what your ideas of progress for Lakeview is. And this might set you up for the negative votes if some of these people that don't want or don't see anybody coming in as a benefit.
Bruce, let's start with you. We'll just work our way down. How's that sound?
It's a complicated question.
I know.
And Red Rock, when I ran in 2016, that was just kind of a gleam. And a lot of people weren't very sure that it was actually going to happen. Obviously, it is happening now. A major investment is happening there that will create jobs. One of the problems, of course, is the workforce. So a lot of these jobs are not, there just isn't the workforce here in Lakeview and in Lake County that has the skills to do some of these jobs. And so that's something, it's kind of chickens and the eggs. When you get the plant, then you'll have opportunities. There will be more of a reason for vocational programs and all kinds of things to create more skilled jobs. But we're just kind of at the beginning right now. There's a major change, as you all know, in the economy from more ag-based and to now something else. Tourism is a big issue. It's being worked. I know Ginger is economic development, and she's working hard. I don't know that there is any single answer. I think tourism is a potential. It will bring in more money, and it will generate more jobs, perhaps more restaurants, more places for people to stay. So what I don't really see, though, is a long-term vision and a plan. How does it all fit together, and where do we want to go as a county, as a town? Where do we want to be in 5 years, 10 years, and then how do we get there? A plan is not a product in itself, it's just a map for how do you get to where you want to go. And I have not seen that defined.
So, this actually brings me to a really good question. I'm actually gonna, that thing is not recording. I just realized it. So, if we could switch that on real quick, and we're gonna record. So you might wanna start my time over again. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Bruce, I really. But I would like to record as much as we can for folks that can. So, it is a big question. If I don't get it all answered, feel free to ask a follow-up for anyone that you'd like to hear from. This is a big issue that I want to really try to reach out to the folks in Lake County to find out where they want to see the county go. We could go a lot of different places. There is so much potential in this county. I want to try and increase a little bit of transparency so that you understand what your county's doing, what your town is doing. Red Rock is a really great opportunity, but there's a lot of negatives that could potentially be there for Red Rock as well. I was discussing with someone the other day, say for instance, I know a lot of people fear that maybe they're just going to be here for the tax credit and then go. Say they don't hire all 150 men, say they only hire 50. And then they go and they disappear. What happens to those 50 families that moved there with their kids here? They're in the school here. Suddenly we have a big problem, and it's going to be even harder to bring in another business. We have some really great businesses here. For instance, does anyone here know that we actually have a sound booth company here in town that builds sound booths? I was talking to the county commissioners about it and other people, and a lot of folks actually had no idea that we had a little business that built sound booths, ships them all over the world, and it's a really awesome little business, and they employ 10 people, which I actually found out just today. One job is equal to hundreds of jobs in a place like Multnomah County. It's a huge deal, and this little business employs 10. Say, for instance, a bad source of the luck or something that, say, the business failed. 10 families, we could actually find other work for them here in town. But 50 families, that's a big deal. So when we look at businesses that we want to come in, we want to encourage entrepreneurship, of course. We want to encourage smaller businesses that are a little bit more robust, that could actually, you know, stand a little bit of the wind, and the wind blows here. It really does. But as a county commissioner, it's not just about Lakeview for me. It's about the entire county. I've got a little town up there in Silver Lake where the lady actually contributed the money for this tonight. It's an old mill town, it's a ghost town. And the future of Lake County really depends on the people and our ability to be transparent with them and be able to listen to them and hear what they want to do and to provide them as many services as we can. The county commissioners are not in the business creating business. We don't start businesses, but we can be able to we can facilitate them in any way we can. Thank you.
So, I believe something we need to support here is small businesses. I know a lot of people complain about the prices, Safeway being one of them. I think we can certainly afford to bring in another competitive grocery store.
Amen.
You know, people say we can't shop local, we can't afford to. No, you can. I built an entire pumpkin patch with 90% purchased here locally. And the dollars I spent different from the travel time or my Amazon Prime membership was probably less than $100. So you can, and you can even discuss with them, hey, I'm trying to start a business. I'd like a discount instead of shopping somewhere else. They are open to that. I think that ideally, to really help our community thrive, we need an industry brought back. I would love to bring back logging. I grew up with a father who was a logger. So, you know, I don't foresee that happening, but I would certainly love to bring back some type of industry here. Red Rock being one of them. I think that there's some really good potential there, and I hope that it contributes to our community as good as we have been told that it will. You know, we have the prison that brings in a lot of employees. We have a lot of fire and government employees. And I think there's some shifting with that. And so I think that, you know, we can support those people who move here by making opening businesses easier, filling up our empty storefronts by making that more affordable. If we're giving a $1 billion company a 13-year tax break, why are we not giving the gal with 5 kids trying to survive and make a business herself at least a few-year tax break or a 5-year tax break? You know, I'm not making $1 billion. I'm just here trying to help my community and pay my bills at the same time. So I think that's a big thing that we need to support local, and we need to keep that competitive market. We can have 4 coffee shops. We won't all have a Barb. I'm not gonna lie.
So I will caution you. I came up from a small town in California, Ocotillo, California, where the land management company decided, or land management agency, decided to authorize the installation of 114 wind turbines. The energy company came into the town and just wooed us. They said, here's a check for your local school district, a large check. We had a school that had about 40 kids, 2 teachers. They rode the bus 45 minutes a day to go to school one way. They came in, they offered the check to the community and said, hey, you know, have a nice day, we're going to support you, right? They also said the same thing that Red Rock is saying right now, well, we're going to provide you with jobs. But let me caution you. If it's 150 jobs or 50 jobs, it really doesn't make any difference, because once the building is up and they're running smooth, you're not going to have those people, as many of those people working for that company. That's all startup. This is all startup stuff. The other part of that is that if Red Rock is that much of a concern to this town and to this county, then why aren't they going throwing the bucks at us going, hey, we want to be a good neighbor? Why don't they go and maybe go and donate some money to the school system, or donate the money to let's make the town look pretty fun, or whatever. You see them doing that? I mean, I don't. You know, I'm not, my nose isn't in a lot of this stuff, but this stuff is a write-off for these guys, you know? So then we talk about, okay, we're going to bring 150 people in, we're going to put them in a job, you know, we're going to give them something to do for a while, okay? Where are you going to put them? Where are the houses at? Where are the apartments? Where's the infrastructure? Where's all this stuff? I mean, Jiminy Christmas, you know? Back around the fair, Labor Day, you know, there was a company who wanted to bring a bunch of employees in, but everything was reserved. All of the rooms in the hotels were taken up. Where the hell are you going to put them? Right now, how many houses do we have on the market right now in Lakeview for sale?
5.
Lakeview definitely needs economic growth. There's no doubt about that. But in order to get economic growth, we have to have the workforce to do it. And Lakeview does not have it. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people here that don't work. The ones that say they're looking for jobs can't pass the drug test or don't have their driver's license. The only way to do that is you got to deal with your community issues. You've got to deal with your community government. You've got to make the changes. Us as the people, we need to make the changes to make this an inviting town, to be able to bring the families in, the workforce in that's willing to do that. In Red Rock, they're going pretty good. They're supposed to be here for a long time. I know right now that 85% of the workforce that's out there is local. They're using a local contractor for all their dirt work out there right now. They will be bringing in their own crews. It'll be about 150 guys at a time. And I don't know where the 150 employee came from, but from the guys that I've been talking to there, they're going to run about 60 guys out there at that plant. And they figure about between 100 to 150 guys in the woods bringing material to the plant. Those are the numbers that I'm getting. I deal pretty closely with Red Rock because of Warren Valley Property Management. They're trying to figure out where they're going to put these guys when they come to town, because there is no place to put them. And that is a huge issue here. But the only way that we're going to fix that issue is we got to build new homes. We can't build homes until we have the growth to do it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
I agree with like 90% of what was said here. And I'm going to go back to, it has to come from the top. The top has to lead. If you're a leader, you lead. If you lead, people will follow. If people follow, things get done. Just like our police force. My question is, now what? Do we have another goat rope to find a chief of police who's going to come here to lead a department of one? No. The decisions need to come from the top. Decisions need to be better made. Leadership. That's what we need, leadership. Leadership will make this community thrive. But the leadership is lacking. We need new leadership. Whether it's me or anybody sitting up here, we need new leadership.
All right, time. All right, we're going to take about a 15-minute break for everybody. He took my dog away from me. We're going to take a 15-minute break, so go on ahead and use a restroom or visit for a few and stand up and stretch.
Oh, you don't know about I cut it out.
Thank you.
If we could everybody please take a seat so we can convene our meet and greet? Nikki Taylor. Please report to the principal's office. All right, we're going to start up, and I have some cards I'm going to read the questions to, and I do believe this one is directed to the town council candidates. We are in need of animal control. Are you willing to get involved to make this happen?
Yes. Yes. Having had our own dog attacked by a neighbor's dog down the road, and us having a nice vet bill and fear of our kids being outside after this dog unprovoked came onto our property and attacked our dog. Yeah, I 100% support it, and I know that we have some pretty good support from our police department. Not just the one guy, but the county and OSP have been very supportive, and that's where we can create a revenue system. I know we can look at things such as a court system, circuit court, where we actually receive the revenue that helps pay for the funds to pay for a ordinance officer, including dog control.
I agree with Nikki. It's a little closer, maybe as close as home that you had the experience as I did. A couple of weeks ago, my daughter was come over to help me over at the Alger do some work, and over on 9th Street. And a little puppy come running out of the side of the road, out of somebody's house over there, and she ran over it. So of course the trauma that goes along with it. But we got a hold of the police and said, here's what happened. She's crying and boo-hooing, and good for her, she should. But the thing came down to is that the owners were not responsible for the pet. I'm an avid runner and walker, although not right now. I just had my knee replaced 3 weeks ago. But when I get back to running again in the mornings is normally when I run. There's people all over this town that are walking and running, and they carry sticks. What the heck for? You shouldn't have to go beat off a dog because you're running down the road trying to keep yourself healthy. So I agree 1,000,000% with you, Nikki. We need to fix it. Right now, I don't know how to fix it, but we need to fix it.
I agree with him 100%. There's way too many stray dogs running around Lakeview. There's too many attacks. There's too many kids that are getting bit and chased by dogs, and it definitely needs to be dealt with.
Yes, I agree. The stray dogs and dogs on the loose are a really bad problem everywhere in town. North side, south side, it's a really bad problem. And I don't know the solution, but I know that if you call law enforcement, it becomes their issue. Whether they come or not is their issue, not our issue. But I will tell you that I had a fawn this spring that was dragged down in my yard by a stray dog. He had it by the back and was shaking it like a rag doll. And I went out with a handgun and I was going to shoot the dog, and then I got thought I better not, because I live in the town limits. So I better not discharge a firearm. So I called the police. I really didn't believe anybody was going to come. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden there's OSP, there's county, there's city, and there's a fish and wildlife officer all standing in my yard. And they said, "Where's the dog?" I said, "The dog went that way." "Where's the deer?" "The deer went that way." and they went, shoo. 15 minutes later, somebody came, knock, 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 knock on my door. Said, we found the fawn, it's gonna be fine. We didn't find the dog. I called them the next day, to tell them where the dog was. 10 days later, that dog was back shaking a dog across the street from me. So it is an issue, whether we have a compliance officer or what, we need to figure something out, and we will.
I'm going to direct this question to the commissioners too.
We've got, as a commissioner, this is a county-wide problem. This isn't just limited to Lakeview, so just so you guys know that you're not alone. Paisley's struggling with it. Christmas Valley struggles with it. They've got coyotes that come into their yard and snatch cats off porches and everything else. So, you know, it's not just animal control, it's wild animal control. Paisley's trying to figure out ways to deal with it. Lakeview is. I honestly think that people need to take a step back on this issue and not be looking up towards government to solve every single issue in front of us. There's an attitude and a spirit that comes with this, with when you look at these issues. You want to be very careful what genies you want to create that are going to rule over you, because they will. And you be very careful about how you structure these things. So, and it falls under the category of land use issues as well. Everyone wants the government to come in, fix this problem. I don't care, I pay taxes, I fix this problem. But you can also work with your neighbors. You can work with people you know. You can start taking personal responsibility for your animal. You can start pushing that attitude and that habit among everyone in your community to start taking responsibility back and not putting it on government's hands all the time, because it's a sketchy road. So that's where I stand, because I'm not a big government guy. I'm a guy that believes that you need to keep it local and you need to get people back into the mindset of taking responsibility for your actions and definitely your animals. So.
Trying to think of something to say that hasn't been said already. I agree with pretty much everything. It's a really difficult problem. I mean, I really like animals, dogs and cats, and all of them. And so I'd hate to see a dog shot, but on the other hand, how do you deal with it? And if the owner is not responsible, and there's no penalties for them not being responsible, then what other choice is there? There is another longer term solution, which is spay and neuter clinics, which Oregon Outback Humane Society runs regularly, and they try to do it as inexpensively as possible to try and cut the problem down with the number of stray, just feral animals. But for animals in town in particular that are owned by someone and running loose, if there aren't penalties for those owners, I mean, it's nice to say, yeah, they need to be responsible, but when they're not, they need to be hit inside of the head.
All right, I have a question on a card, and this is in light of recent comments made by the town manager regarding Mr., and I think this was going to be Loner? Yeah. Was he the one that was going to be here for chief of police? Okay. And I think it's basically reciting what was in a comment on social media. One, he is retired. He didn't have to, but number two, why would you come to a town full of hate? And hate, and I mean, it's just a little bit of people, you know. And then it says, so hateful, destructive, little vigilante group of people. And that's the quote that was on Facebook. I do believe it was in, I'm not sure who was quoting that.
KTVL.
Who was it?
KTV.
Oh, so this was the town manager who said that?
Yes.
Oh. Well, On the news, okay. So, I think this is going to be one for all of us, all of you guys. How do you feel about that statement? Is what it asks. Yeah, here, I'm going to pass this card and let you guys read it, actually. You. Have you read it?
I don't think that we as a people, as humanity, fully understand how we're going to deal with this concept of social media yet. I didn't see the post, and I didn't read it. But people get emotional, and right now I think Roberta's got a lot on her plate, and she's in over her head on a lot of these things. But she is trying, at least when I talk to her. But I just want to urge people to take some of these posts on social media really carefully. If there's anything I can do.
This was on the news.
This was on the news.
This was on. Okay, so I stand corrected. Okay, I understood that it was on Facebook.
It was reposted on Facebook.
Okay. All right. Then it's on both. I don't know how I feel about it. I wouldn't say those things. This is something that you're going to have to deal with town council, because as the county commissioners, we support the town and what they do as far as if we think what they're doing is right, and if we don't, then we don't support it. I don't think it's appropriate to use that language necessarily. I think it sends a bad message to everyone else when our town is speaking like that. Thank you.
Mark, can I start this time? Please.
Yeah.
I might have an opinion on this. I think that the town manager owes the town an apology, a public apology. Absolutely, that was absolutely uncalled for, out of line, and a person in her position who serves us should not be saying those things to anyone at all. She should be censured by the council.
Amen.
Immediately.
Absolutely.
Someone needs to inform the mayor. That may have already been done. And it needs to happen. This is absolutely unconscionable. And I talked before about honesty and transparency and dignity and respect. Dignity and respect has to come from the top. And it's not coming from the top. She needs to apologize, at the very least. Sorry. That's my opinion.
Well, the good news is it lit a little fire in me for me to finish my pumpkin patch today. Because I needed that energy, but I have a lot of mixed emotions on this. First off, my father always taught me you don't use the word hate with anybody. There are very few people in this world that you should hate. You dislike somebody, you greatly dislike them, but you don't hate them. I certainly don't hate our town manager or any of the people in this town. I can name on one hand the people that I probably hate. So I was pretty hurt to hear somebody call the community of Lakeview full of hateful people, because apparently her and I do not live in the same community. I might have rose-colored glasses. I think that a lot of the people in this community do things for the best interest of the community, for the children, for the older population, and for the benefit to make it a better place to live. Sure, there's a few bad apples in there. Every now and then you have to shake a tree to get the rotten apples off of it. And that's what's happened. I personally believe, if you feel, and I quote, that if you had known what you know now about the community of Lakeview, you would have never taken the job as town manager, end quote. what Roberta said today, that you should resign. And I ask for that resignation. And I don't say that lightly, because right now we are not only down a financial planner in our town, we are down to 1 police officer here in a week. We really can't afford to be down a town manager, but we really can't afford to have a town manager who does not see the potential of this community and those who are questioning their government, which is okay. You should never be told not to question your government, whether or not you agree with them.
It's kind of nice to follow Nikki because I agree with her. The part for me is that for folks who decide to be part of the process, whether it be town council, commissioner, whatever, you have to have a passion to do something. You've got to care about your people. You've got to care about your town. How dare anyone slander our town? How dare they, especially in that position? I disagree 1,000,000%. How that ever turns out, right now, I don't have the power to fix that, okay? I have a say in it because I'm a person, I'm public, I'm those kind of things. But we collectively here in this town need to hold those kind of people accountable and remind them that you are representing us, not you, you're representing us. So earlier we talked about going through ordinances and policies and procedures and laws and all of those kind of things and a code of conduct. I don't think that kind of behavior, if it's outlined in a code of conduct, would be allowed. So I don't like what I'm hearing. You know, to me that's not part of Lakeview, that's not part of the passion, you know, of being part of this town.
I agree with what they're saying. That comment should have never been made. When you make a decision to work for or manage a town, be on a council, you've got to learn to deal with things with knowledge, not emotion. And that's obviously how this is being dealt with, is emotion. There's a lot of issues in Lakeview that's being dealt with emotion instead of knowledge.
All right. Awesome, you guys. Yes.
I was in Bend on Monday picking something up, and it was at a place where somebody asked me where I was from. Well, they knew because I was picking up something. Anyway, they said to me, is Lakeview still voted the most friendly place in the state? And I said, oh, well, if it isn't, it should be. So, hey, everybody doesn't think we're bad.
Right? Oh. Could you three guys introduce your names again for this young lady?
I'm Scott Hankett.
Mike Witters.
And Mike Cup.
Okay, my question is about the water. All right, once we get these pipes and lines and everything's all in and in place, how are we going to know for a fact that we are going to be getting water that is really passing? The standards are being set by Oregon State, tested by Oregon State. If it fails, Oregon State has certain responsibilities to our town. I think it would be wise for us to have it tested just across the border by somebody in Nevada, where everything alkali, military ordinances, nuclear, whatever's going on, because I don't think we're being told the truth, and there's too many people ill in this town, and I think water's a big part of it. I don't think we have a guarantee once the lines are done that it's going to be healthy. Can you help us there?
Who would like to start first with that one?
So previously I talked about, that I'd mentioned that I'd help the town of Paisley with their water quality issue. Fortunately for them, it was a mechanical repair that needed to be done, okay? But their arsenic levels are really high, just like ours are. You know, so once or when this water system has been replaced, okay, there are ways to go and get water samples taken of anything you want to get a sample of. And it doesn't have to be done by a bureaucracy. You know, we can hire, the town can hire, the county can hire, or the town can hire anyone they want to do that with to go provide with what we will perceive as the honest answer, okay? I too have a major concern about the leaching from the uranium mines from a long time ago, okay? Our water tables are dropping, okay? So when that happens, then the water starts running downhill even more, okay? I don't really know what the stats are in terms of deformities, but I am aware of, over on the East Coast, there was a military base that had some, it was downstream of a heavy metal processing plant. And this particular place became a Superfund site, just like our uranium site did. The problem is that they actually had deformed babies and people and this and that and everything else. To me, that's too late. Too absolutely late. We have people here in Lakeview itself that have, you know, immunity problems, you know, with their active immune system that they're not working. So, I mean, I'm really interested in, like, what the heck, you know? And we don't need to have, you know, the state of Oregon over our shoulders when we have the capability of having these things tested that we're interested in getting tested. You know, arsenic is just not one of them. So I think that we have the power, I'm pretty sure we have the authority to get it sampled. I do know that the town of Lakeview is pretty good on getting the sampling produced and published, and they're available over at Town Hall.
I haven't seen the new plan yet. I've asked for a copy of it twice and haven't gotten it. The filtration system, from what I understand, that they're supposed to put in is supposed to filter out a lot of this. A lot of the discoloration that you see in the water is from the old pipes. The only way that's going to change is if they change and get rid of the old pipes and go to the PVC pipe. A lot of stuff that's left in Lakeview is clay pipe and ductile steel, and that's where you're getting your discoloration. I talked to Jeff a little bit about this, and like I said, I haven't seen the long-term plan yet. But if it goes through the way that I'm being told it is, you will see a lot of that change. But it's not a change that's going to happen overnight. I've been involved with these for a long time. Their estimate's at about $10 million right now for this filtration system. By the time they get the funding for it, the town gets the funding for it, whether it's through the state of Oregon or federally, you're probably looking at 12 to 13 million, and then not knowing what you're going to run into when you start digging, you're actually probably looking at about $15 million by the time you're all done. The only guarantee is going to be that they are going to be able to filter out of, I think it's well 9. They're going to be able to get that up and running again. They'll be able to get the arsenic levels down in that. And I can't remember what the other well is. They have a sand issue. The well 6, where the sand issue is, they're going to be able to get a sand filter on that and eliminate that and get that up. Both those wells are good water. They just have those two issues. They have the arsenic issue and the sand issue. The project that they're doing now, you're not going to really notice a lot of difference in your water quality.
Directly to your question, though, the city can hire anyone they want to do that. They can hire an attorney through contract. They can hire an engineer through contract. They can hire a lab through contract. And what I'm going to suggest is that instead of testing the same places month after month after month after month that have good quality water, let's do a random sample, random testing throughout the town.
Come to my house.
In my house.
Please.
You know? But I understand what you guys are saying, because everybody has the same problem. Maybe not everybody, but most people in town have the same problem. And the way to fix it, I mean, I don't know how to fix the problem other than what this town's doing, but the sampling to make sure that we're getting good quality water can be done and should be done.
So I attended the water meeting a couple months ago. Anderson Engineering gave a report and a water master plan that was several months behind, that he was paid roughly $10,000 plus to do. Took over a year. It's not a simple process, I understand that. I am not a genius about this water stuff, let me tell you, but I can research the crud out of anything, and I will find a way to answer the questions I do not know. So, first off, I want to say that Jeff and the employees of the town who are involved in maintenance work their butts off. I think they've taken a lot of heat. This is way above them. This is something the town manager is responsible for. It is not Jeff, it is not the other guys that are out there flushing our lines. So I hope that people give them some grace. They're out there doing their jobs. In this water master plan, what people don't realize is that over 50% of our lines have already been replaced, according to Anderson Engineering. But yet we all still see the same water issues. It's no coincidence I wore a white shirt tonight, because it is 5 washes in, and I have never bought a white shirt up until about 6 weeks ago, and it was purely because it was $2 on clearance. So I thought, okay, we've been developing our systems. I live in an area that has newer water lines. I'm kind of curious to see if it's going to ruin it or not. Because in town, when I lived on North 3rd, it was ruined immediately. I live out on Roberta where there's newer homes and newer water lines, and I haven't had the issue that I used to have in town. So obviously the water lines are an issue. Now what people don't realize is that you can have these water lines replaced and we can be 100% replaced, but what coming from the street into your home is also going to be an issue. And I hope when people see the changes and see what happens, they realize it's not going to be fixed overnight. I'm not going to listen to that timer. So, I mean, here's the thing. These meetings that are being held in the evenings are really very informational. They need to be published online, like many of these small towns have the capabilities of doing, so that the general public can view these. I wish we could do it with the news and the radio. Obviously, that would be a very long report. Nobody would want to listen to that. But if you want to sit down in the evenings and watch a video, there's really a long-term project. It's a filtration system, but there's also going to be some stuff that I don't really think homeowners realize needs to happen on their own property. And that's going to cost us some money, and we need to find a way to help these property owners out.
Hold on. I promised the young lady.
I really don't need that microphone.
Oh, you're using it.
Nikki's being super loud. 99% of the interactions I have with people in town are super positive. We are good people. Yeah. So where's this misrepresentation coming from? Why are we supposedly hateful? And how do you plan on representing us in a more positive way?
Good question.
Thanks.
Good question.
I've been thinking about that one for like 4 days. So.
Yeah, we're talking taking responsibility, right? Where did hateful come from? Came from somebody who shouldn't have opened their mouth. That's where it came from. What will I personally do to not portray that? That's not the person I am. My promise to the people of this town, if they elect me, is that number one, I will never lie for anyone. I won't lie for the town council, I won't lie for the mayor, I won't lie for the city manager. I will not lie. I will be as open and transparent as the charter will allow me. Right now, that's really, the town council people can't really say a lot of things in public. But whenever I'm given the opportunity, I will tell you the truth. You will get dignity and respect from me. because that's the person that I am. It's the only way I know to answer your question.
Where does the hate come from? That's the question, right? Do you read social media?
I try not to.
Exactly. That's where a lot of it comes from.
It's true.
And 90% of those people that post those comments don't show up at these meetings. They want to sit in the back and they want to run their mouth and they want to talk trash, but they don't want to do nothing about it. And that's where the hate comes from.
So, Nikki, thank you for raising a wonderful daughter. I've known Lily for a long time. She's not outspoken, but she's learning to be effective in her communication skills. You know, I guess maybe we had similar parents, but my parents taught me, my dad taught me that hate is not a word to use. You know, and in this town, as was just mentioned by Mike, we have some wonderful people here. And how dare one person trash us the way that they did by saying hateful things about us. They work for us, you know? And I find it extremely difficult when you have, in a position of public trust, that you have a person who says those things about our town that is not speaking for us. They're speaking for themselves, I hope. Okay? So whatever needs to happen to go and open that door to show people how wonderful we really are. And I really appreciated the comment you made about the folks up in Bend saying, you know, is Lakeville still that friendly place? I think it is. My sister and brother-in-law come down, you know, twice a year, you know, and they comment on how nice the people are. How many towns do you go through nowadays that people still wave at you? We do it here. How many towns do you know that doesn't have a stoplight? Yes. You know? I mean, that's Lakeview, right? How many towns do you know that has a cow go to the front door of the Chamber of Commerce just to visit? That's us. And how many of you, as you're driving back and forth in the county, stop for that herd of cattle that's being herded from one pasture to the next? That's Lakeview. Come on, you know? So how dare that person misrepresent us and say those things about us when we don't deserve it at all? We are just the opposite of that. So.
We have turned into a world where we tend to think when you disagree with somebody, you must hate them. I can tell you I disagree with my children a lot, especially when she asks tough questions. Just because we have different opinions does not mean we are hateful. There's a lot of people in this community that have different opinions. You know, we have conservatives, we have liberals, we have people in the middle of the road. And I think our society tends to pit them against each other and think that you must dislike somebody just because you don't agree with them. And just like there are moments in our life as parents, as teachers, you know, in our jobs, that we have to do tough stuff sometimes. And if it's construed as hate, that makes me sad, because that's not what it is. Generally, it's a lesson. Generally, it's something to make our community better, or your job better, or your environment better. And I think that the way that we can change that is really to show each other respect. And I will be very honest with you, Roberta has never said an ill word to me personally. And I've never said an ill word to her, because we all know that's who we're talking about here. She's always been very respectful to my faith, so I can't say that she has been disrespectful to me. I don't agree with the methods of what's happening and how it's happening. So I think that even when you disagree, you can do it respectfully. And we don't need to foster the hate. We have a lot of really great people in this community doing some really great things, and I know they disagree with me, but I support them because they're still doing great things. I don't have to agree with you all the time. That's okay.
I'm going to hand this over to Bruce, but I would like to thank Nikki for everything you just said. It was really, really good and spoke from the heart, and really thank you. I I'm really grateful that someone said that, because it kind of brings it back to where we need to be. And we may not agree with someone, we may not even really like them all that much, but we need to step away from the hate. And it's a really, really good way to look at things. And I really thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I want to say. The concept of using words like that, it's emotional, obviously. And when you're emotional, you're not thinking clearly. And when you're in a position where you should be a professional, you just can't allow that. It's just not acceptable. Social media is just ridiculous. It's out of control. And I don't know what we can do to fix that, but it's just unacceptable. The real point is we're supposed to have manners. We're supposed to treat each other respectfully. There's some folks in the room right here, right now, that asked me to meet with them a while back, and I did. And knowing on both sides that we disagreed on many points, many big picture issues, federal issues, and so on. And yet we had a great conversation, and we respected each other. And if you do that, and you can actually have a conversation, respectful conversation, you can learn from each other, and everybody comes out ahead.
Robin, you had a question? I'm going to come back to you.
I have a comment. The town meetings, I can yell. Everybody knows I got a big mouth.
Here, I want to have mine.
I know that the town council meetings and meetings like this that are held for the public are actually online through the Lake County Examiner.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't even work there anymore.
Okay, somebody,
Let's grab this down.
you're next on my list.
Mainly for the commissioners, what do you know about the FRESH Act?
I'm coming back.
Get your phone.
The FRESH Act is being worked on currently by Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden. It's essentially it's essentially going to replace our SRS for the school funding, and it has a lot of potential. I don't know a whole lot about it yet. I'm still learning a lot. I haven't looked at it, and I haven't read the entire thing. The commissioners had a meeting about it. Commissioner Schown had a meeting, a conference call, I believe. I was not on it. I was at work. But I did talk to Commissioner Schown about it, and it has, basically, it puts it into a fund. It will move it over into more county control, so it won't be federal as much anymore. The SRSs were never meant to be permanent. It was, now the FRESH Act is supposed to come in and kind of take that over. What it allows us to do is it allows the county to have a lot more control over the funding for our schools, and using timber receipts and other receipts from public land, because it's not all timber. But yeah, beyond that, I'm still reading up on it and doing my research, so.
I don't have anything to add to that. I am not very familiar with it. The concept of depending so much on federal money bothers me, but I don't know what the alternatives are. When they do things to destroy an economy, and then they have to do something to replace it. But I'm not very familiar with it. So.
Thank you, gentlemen. Hold on one second. We got one back here.
To get my exercise.
Just kind of a show of hands, because I got several questions here, and I only want to do this once. And it's for both city and county, is we talked about dog catchers, a dog catcher and the dog problem. Would you be willing to budget? That's where the problem is budgeting this, okay? And it's the city and the county talking together, you know, and right now there's, they don't play well in the same sandbox. So are you guys going to be willing to change that? And would you be willing to budget for a municipal judge to take care of these ordinance issues? You know, the dogs that loose, the garbage that's, you know, in people's yards and things like that. And how about for the county and the city, nighttime meetings so the public can be involved? You know, people work. You can't be involved if you have to take time off of work and feed your family. So that's my questions.
Okay. You got them written on your card?
No.
You rattled it off. That's good. I'm going to come up here. Who wants to start with those questions? Nikki?
I'm gonna keep it short. So I posted on social media 5 of my top first things that I wanted to do. Number 1 was move the meeting times to the evening. That should be not a problem. One of the people on the town council is currently the one that helped facilitate daytime meetings. Once that person is no longer on the town council, that should not be an issue. I also believe that the mayor and town council can collectively run the town, and you want to save over $70,000, we can eliminate the town manager position, and there's your dog catcher right there. And that's what you have a town council and mayor and the finance director, who we need to replace because we are without one currently, can do. And if you put the right people in the right places, you should trust that they're going to do that job for you. And we could save a big chunk there. Also, if we look at our options with our policing and having the county in contract with the county, we can save some money there as well and provide better benefits and pay for our current officer, who is the only one left.
How about the judge? We put money in a budget for a municipal judge.
Create a revenue system so you can pay for that judge.
So that money will stay in the town instead of going out.
Correct, and that's, I'm not sure if you were here earlier and I talked about if we hired somebody for that position, we could create a revenue system. Most towns fine people, and you follow through with the fines and you create that municipal, you will eventually pay for yourself. Yeah, there's going to be a few years where you're working out the kinks, and that's what you have to do when you invest basically in a business. So there's a few years you are in the negative until you start making a profit. I think that's a risk we need to take.
Yeah.
I like following Nikki because I agree with her.
You cheated.
No, she did. She's good at what she does.
I do agree with Nikki, and the issue with having an ordinance officer that works for the town and for the county, you're running into legalities. It's called commingling funds between the city and the county. And you'd have to really look at the legalities of being able to do that without violating any of the state or federal regulations, to be able to do that, to hire somebody that actually works for the town and, or the city and the county.
We have it for years.
We have it for years?
Yeah.
It may be set up here. I know in other counties that I've dealt with, they wouldn't allow it because they consider it a commingling funds. And it's illegal for the state to allow it.
Yeah, there were a number of questions there. I just want to mention a couple points on 2 of the points. One is access. You know, one of the problems, of course, as was mentioned, is nighttime meetings, because people have to work. And of course, then, you know, also find people have to work at night, so that's pretty hard. But I think it should be done periodically, at least. There's also a problem as far as access to government meetings and facilities and information. It's caused by the distance. You know, obviously, the north end of the county is a long way from here, and vice versa. And so it's hard for people on the north end of the county to participate in things. There are real-time capability for real-time audio-visual links between the different parts of the county. It exists in some places now, it's not being used. I've looked into it, and there is a facility in the courthouse, and nobody uses it. And so if you, for instance, it doesn't address the question of nighttime, but if you live in the North County and you have a need to be down here to sign a piece of paper, say, or to make a brief appearance in front of somebody, for example, for a building permit, you could do that remotely. You can even sign documents remotely. We're not doing that kind of stuff now. So access, that's one issue. Another issue is finding, not only finding the money, hire a judge or an ordinance control officer or anything else, but it's keeping the money in the pocket where it's supposed to go. And that's been a problem in many areas in the county, and I assume in the town, where money will be found for 1 year, but it disappears the next year. So you hire somebody, and now they're gone. That makes no sense at all. So when you make a decision, you need to make an honest decision, put the appropriate amount of money in the right pocket, and make sure it stays there. And if it needs continuity year after year after year, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, actually, Bruce, that was really good, because you hit on some really good points there. The idea of Skyping a lot of these interviews, we really need to think about the possibility of doing that and doing more of it. Because folks on the north end of the county, it really does hurt them, especially during the winter if they have to drive all the way up to Lakeview. It's dangerous. I mean, jury duty is bad enough. Everyone's always got a story to tell me about that. Because they want to come, they want to do that, but it's hard. But like you said, for building permits and things like that, yes, we can do those things remotely. And we should move more in that direction. As far as meetings in the evening, I would love to do more meetings in the evening. That's why I did this meeting here tonight, and we chose 6 o'clock because people had to work, including myself. And it's really important that if you're going to be able to work with the public, and that you want to have transparency with the citizens have to know what you're doing, and they have to be able to listen. I thought about one little topic, and I'll hit on this really quick. I really thought about this concept of podcasting, because it seems like media is moving more and more in that direction, and with limited bandwidth restrictions, it's really easy to do this system where you audio record these things, and you upload them to where guys can listen to them anytime. I've got forklift drivers at the mill who listen to these things hours on end. If you need to listen and catch up on county news, it's a really good way to do it. You can do it right on your phone. And with modern technology, it's the 21st century. There's no reason why we can't be able to have better communication with our citizens.
Amanda, you have been wanting to ask a question, and then I will get to this young man over here who's been wanting one too. Here you go, dear.
All right, so this is for Bruce and James. As you guys know, under Obama's renewable energy program, we need to be buying 20% of our energy from renewable resources by, I believe it's 2020. And Governor Kate Brown just upped that number to either 30 or 35%. And a lot of that is coming right now from wind and solar energy. Lake County has more solar arrays than any other county in the state of Oregon. So what I want to know from you guys is, how do you guys feel, or what is your opinions on the development of solar arrays on EFU zoned lands? And to add to that, is it something kind of like how cities have urban growth boundaries, where they limit the percentage added on every year? Is that something you guys would consider, especially because it is a fairly new technology?
Could you ever repeat that last part again, as far as that limit?
So to implement a program similar to urban growth boundaries, where you only permit a certain amount, so a certain acreage or a certain wattage per year, so that you don't have an explosion of development on previously non-developed ground, basically overnight, which is what has happened.
Did you get?
me, I'm somewhat familiar with this because Amanda and I exchange messages, and my understanding is there are no county guidelines, for instance, for citing and approving. That there are state restrictions, and then this recent thing where they grouped together, what was it, 5 different projects into one, so that they could take away the local control at the county level of approval if they were each considered separately as smaller projects. They lumped them all together, even though they were spread all over the place. And that then, in that case, then the state took over approval, and the county only had an advisory approval role. That's wrong. There's a lot of issues with solar. First of all, I'm an engineer. It's a great idea. It doesn't solve all the problems. Obviously, you don't get any power at night. You've got to store the energy somewhere. You've got to convert it to AC. It's not as simple as it appears. There's a lot of heavy metals that go into solar panels, and so you've got to worry in the long run about what happens when their efficiency has dropped so much that they're not cost effective anymore, and somebody's got to pay to remove them. And who's going to do that? So they're very nice things to have and to consider. Wind power is also great. Hydroelectric power is a really good thing. And I saw some figures the other night. I don't remember them. But the hydroelectric power is about the cleanest, most renewable energy source that there is. And yet for other reasons, and I know you've got to balance things off, but for other reasons people want to remove dams. And that really doesn't make much damn sense to me. So and that doesn't mean I don't care about fish, because I do. I like fish, and I like all the critters. But at some point or another, you've got to make logical decisions. And I'm not sure removing the cleanest source of energy, 24-hour-a-day energy that we have, I'm not sure that's the right decision. I had another point, and I suddenly lost it. So at that point, I think I'll sit down. Thank you.
So, as you know, on the north end, we've got thousands of acres that are being converted into solar.
I think 7,500 acres
Yes.
was just approved.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. Yeah. Who's being interviewed here? I like solar as far as an option, but I don't think it's the answer, not the whole answer. As county commissioners, we can't really do anything without a majority vote on the commissioner board anyway. So we try to work through all this stuff. I've been looking at solar. I'm not as well versed in solar energy as Bruce probably is, given his time at NASA. But again, I'm going to kind of revert back to this other concept of some of the other options out there. I was listening to Elon Musk the other day talking about solar energy and about being able to do roofing a house for the same price as any other roof, and doing it in solar energy. And you're not taking any farmland doing that. You're just literally just putting on a better roof, higher quality, for the same price as a normal roof would be, with solar cells on top that you can actually power your whole home, depending on the size of the home and square footage, of course. But so there's a lot of options. I think we're still trying to work through a lot of these things. I'm not in favor of converting huge amounts of farmland into massive solar farms. On the north end, we have a bit of an issue with the fact that the large portion of that land has no water rights on it, and it is a private chunk of land. So what are we going to do? Tell a private property owner what he can and can't do with his land? So it gets into a really gray area for the county commissioners on how exactly they're going to deal with that. We have X amount of farmland in this county, period. And I am not in favor of converting any of it into solar farms where you're putting concrete pads down into the ground that are going to be there for who knows how long, because it's not clear to me whether or not those things are going to be taken out of the ground when the project is over or whenever their lease is up. So anyway, with that, I'm going to call it quits.
All right. Let's see. I think this gentleman right here had a question in the sweatshirt.
Yeah, this question's for the county commissioners. What do you plan to do about the meetings? Do you plan any changes? Are you thinking about any changes? Are you thinking about any changes in regards to the agendas? The one thing that's really surprised me is when I look at an agenda and the commissioners are going to Silver Lake or the Christmas Valley, and most of the topics have to do with Lakeview. You know, if I were a person up at Silver Lake, I'd say, don't even bother coming up. But I think there need to be some changes. Are you folks considering something in regards to that? Thanks.
Nobody on the north end of the county wants to hear all about Lakeview's business. If you want to hear about Lakeview's business, they have a town council and they have meetings. I think a lot of it just happens partly because a lot of the commissioners spend a lot of time up here or down here in Lakeview. And so it's not intentional, I don't think, all the time. I think it's just a product of the fact that this is what they're involved in most of the time. And so then when they go up to the north end, they're not always up to speed on everything. They're trying to pay attention to some of these issues, but I really think that you need to get involved and you really need to hear what some of these families are talking about, some of these issues on land use. It's a really big topic right now on the north end. A lot of the junky places and stuff. I know, I spent the whole last weekend up there and going out and meeting people and actually trying to go out and meet some of these folks who have some of these lands and properties in question. I mean, you go up to them, it's an old school bus, it's sitting there, it's got a stovepipe out the side with cardboard around it, there's broken glass all over, there's kids running around, tires locked up around the bus, and it's just a hazard. There's kids running all over the place and there's glass all over. We do have ordinances. They need to be enforced. How do you enforce them? These are questions that the north end really wants to know an answer to. So if we're going to spend time up there on the north end, we need to spend time addressing some of those issues. Right now, it's a big road topic right now and getting the roads fixed on the north end. And a lot of the roads in question that people want fixed are not county roads. And so that gets into a problem of funding and whether or not it's even legal for the county to go and spend county funds plowing or grading roads that the county doesn't own and isn't responsible for. But we're trying to work out those issues.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of distill out the essence of your question, Orlando. I think having meetings in Silver Lake, say, and talking about Lakeview topics is ridiculous. It's a waste of time. And you're just going through the motions of saying, okay, well, we're here. We care about you, we're here, but we're not talking about anything that you know about or you care about. So the real essence is access, better access to the function of the government. I mentioned that before. And one of the things that I've talked to folks in Christmas Valley, for example, is having some sort of a rotating schedule where a commissioner is there for some period. And it's on a schedule so people know if they need to talk with somebody face to face. And there's a lot of things, in spite of the fact I like audio visual and all that kind of stuff, a lot of stuff you need to see their eyeballs and you need to sit down in the room and talk with them to resolve issues. And I think having an actual physical presence where there's a schedule, people know about it, a commissioner will be there in that wonderful government county annex building up there, which is another topic. And they'll be there on a regular basis so you can schedule time with them. And then I also have improved access by the audio visual. I think that's kind of the essence of the question. If it's not, beat me up.
Would you be doing that in Paisley and Silver Lake?
I'm sorry?
Would you be doing that in Paisley and Silver Lake also?
Well, you know, on a schedule basis, I think you should. And the audio-visual is something that I know there's links to Christmas Valley. I believe there's one in Paisley too, but I'm not certain of that. And that's something that's easy to set up with current technology. It's not hard. I know the IT guy in the county. We talked about it. It's just not hard to do. It's not that expensive. Now, actually having a physical place where people can come for meetings, you know, that's a little bit different. That would be multiple places. One of the issues with the audio-visual, of course, is security. And so if you have a computer system with monitors and you know, you need to know how to use it, you need to know it's secure when it's not being used. So there's a lot of issues, but they're all solvable. And it would improve access, and I think that's the essence of the problem.
Wendy, did you have a question?
Yeah. This is for everyone up here. The topic of mental health and rehabilitations and certain things that people have worked very hard to approach both the commissioners and the town council in the past and seem to have the door shut on. There are a lot of people that are passionate about bringing special services to help people learn job skills that are disabled. The COIC was shut down. We don't no longer have the Goodwill. There's a lot of resources that are needed in this county. If you look at the statistics of mental health in this county, there's about 800 people in our little town of what, 2,500 that need these services. There's streets here that need to be repaired because people cannot walk down them or ride in the wheelchair because they're torn up. As a business owner, I have had to move my business several times because of this issue. There's a lot of problems dealing with this. We need help taking care of our own. Not everyone is, no one really wants to touch the subject because you like to put them all together as drug abusers and mental health. Some have both, some have separate. But I think this is an issue that seems really sensitive to a lot of people to talk about. But there are people that want to come to you and say, hey, we have an idea. And they're tired of getting the door shut. How do you feel about this?
Who wants to start off here?
I hear where you're coming from because I'm disabled. I'm a disabled Army airborne vet. And I normally use a four-wheel scooter to get around because I have no knees. And I understand what you're saying because I can get downtown from my house, but there's places where you have to go in somebody's driveway through the rocks and so I understand what you're saying. And there's absolutely no reason for the town council to totally disregard something that somebody brings to them, especially something of that magnitude. If there's that many people that need services in this town, the city council, the town council, needs to figure out some way to facilitate getting sidewalks done. I know there's a ton of places where sidewalks are really needed in this town. Where I live, my house, I live on a corner, and I am the only paved sidewalk which the previous owners put in like a 10-block area. The only sidewalks. So I know what you're saying. And I think you need to, after the election, you need to reapproach the town council. I think you'll probably get a different attitude. I really do.
Mental health, that's a huge question because it's not just Lakeview, Lake County, it's a nationwide issue. It's something that everybody seems to turn their back to, and until they have to deal with it within their own family. And it is something that needs to be dealt with in Lakeview. It's something that if those services can be brought to Lakeview, they need to be brought to Lakeview because there are a lot of people in this town that can use them. And for the disabled people, I don't know where the town is on the ADA Act, but they're supposed to be doing a percentage and be at a certain point, and I can't remember what it is because it's been a long time for me since I've dealt with it, to accommodate as far as ramps and sidewalks and crosswalks and everything else for the disabled. So that's something I definitely look into if I'm like it.
So I'll dovetail onto that comment. ADA compliance was passed on many years ago, and it's just not, at the county level, at the town level, at the state level, and at the federal level. So So we are not in compliance with ADA. I know that just from walking around and doing what I do. The part that really bothers me though is this 800 people of our town that require some assistance in regards to their mental health. So in my family, I have a former Marine, got out 3 weeks ago. I have another Marine that's currently stationed over in Okinawa. Both of them within the last 6 months have had some mental health issues. It scares the hell out of me because, obviously because they're family, okay? But the other part of this is that I have friends in this town that have issues. And one of those people, as you mentioned, the door was closed in their face. Literally or not, I don't know, but the response I got was that, well, they just didn't want to see me or they didn't have time. I normally don't cuss a lot, but that's bullshit. We need to take care of our people. If we don't take care of our people, how in the heck can we take care of our town? One of the jobs I had in the Navy was I was the senior enlisted at various commands, in charge of the liaison, facilitation, whatever you want to call it, of the morale, welfare, and well-being of my sailors and their families. It scares me knowing that we have mental health professionals in this town that for whatever reason, and for what you're saying, because I have not talked to these people, but for whatever reason have decided they are unable to provide the treatment or the help to these folks that need it.
Actually, let me correct that. They've approached the council and commissioners to help them facilitate and bring more things to help these people.
Okay.
This is not against them.
So
them coming to here saying, hey, we've got an idea, and the door shut in their face.
Oh, well, then I'll say it again. That's bullshit. The county and the town. Sure. We up here, I hope, have a passion for taking care of our people. Okay? You will not get that from me. If someone comes up to me and says, hey, can you help? I will do whatever the heck I can do to make that work because they deserve it. They're not healthy. They may not know. They may not know their capacities, in and outs, whatever, you know? So they need that help. What we need to do is help them get that help so they can be healthy and productive. So I appreciate you saying that.
I don't think you get that reaction out of any candidates in here.
So recently I was approached by a friend who asked with another friend to help facilitate a suicide prevention program here. Why did they come to me? Well, number one, because one of the people that we lost was one of my husband's dear friends. About the first time I think I ever saw my husband choke up. We just started dating. And then recently our town has lost another person. So I think that we don't have a program in our schools, and that scares me. Most schools have some type of programs for drugs, suicide, bullying, you name it, all of those mental health issues. And I think that's where we need to start with our youth, because that's really where it starts. Now, I know on the adult side that recently the state came in and they saw, wait a minute, Lakeview has this much of a need, and they kept saying, we need money, we need people, we need resources. They didn't believe them, and then they came here and they saw it. I do know that there is progress coming towards that, from my understanding, with the Crisis Center. Honestly, the only answer I can really tell is be relentless. Don't stop. I don't. I've been told no a few times. I'm really bad about it because I don't like to hear no. I like to get things done, and I will do whatever I need to do if it's for the greater good. If it's something that is going to make it better, I'm going to find a way to do it. And I do think you will have a different approach with the town council. And I think that the town council is working very strongly to work with the commissioners. That's why we have two candidates here tonight with the town council, because I think we all want to work together. So, you know, if you can get the town council to help you out, they'll help the commissioners as well, vice versa. But I think that there will be a different attitude. I've been watching those YouTube videos for the last 2 years of the town council meetings, and I'll tell you, I was pretty saddened to see the way some of these people who have just moved here have been treated. It really isn't the way we should treat our community. So I think there's a different approach coming. I think we've all had enough, and there's going to be some change.
James?
Yeah, I gotta say, I obviously don't know how to help people with mental illness. They can be helped with other problems, with services and things like that, but actually curing the illness, there are professionals, and I'm not one of them, and I don't know what to do. But having the door slammed in your face, that's not unacceptable. Now the other side of it is, of course, just because you have a problem, and maybe a serious problem, doesn't mean everything has to stop when you come and knock on the door. I mean, things have to be handled in a professional way. You set up an appointment, you come in. Hopefully when you come into somebody, it's not to argue, but it's to say, here's a solution to the problem. Here's the problem that I see. Here's a proposed solution. What do you think about that? Why don't we sit down together and talk about it? Maybe we can come up with something even better. So personally, I don't know how to solve those kinds of problems, but I know you absolutely must be open to talking with people and listening and working out solutions.
So, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this subject, and about a lot of people a lot of folks on the south end of town, a lot of folks in all over North Lake County and in Paisley and other places. I think they feel disenfranchised in a lot of ways, and they've come to be somewhat dispossessed. And I think we need to be very careful we don't forget about them. A lot of these folks do have mental illnesses, and they struggle with mental health. And we need to be able to work with those agencies that are facilitating those needs as much as possible. Slamming doors or shutting doors in people's faces is just, that's not acceptable. I went down to the mental health folks, and I sat in and I had a long talk. It was going to be like a 20-minute meeting. I was there for about 2 hours, maybe 3. People came in after work, and they said I was the only candidate for commissioner that had ever stopped by to talk to them. And I think they have some really awesome things. That there are a lot of services that they are looking to provide and want to provide to people. And unfortunately, we live in a system, we live in a society where there are hierarchies. It's normal, it's natural, and we work with hierarchies of competence in order to, well, you hire somebody. You know, if you can't pass a drug test, I can't hire you. I'm sorry. You know, I work at a sawmill. There's machines up there that will eat me up in a nanosecond. And I need to be able to know that the guy working on those machines or working with me isn't going to come in after a bad day and smoking a joint on his break. He's not going to flip on one of those machines and chew me up. I got a wife and family I got to think about. So we look, businesses hire people, make sure that they don't, you know, and make sure that they're not on drugs, make sure that they're not drinking all the time. And unfortunately, though, when you have these systems of hierarchies of competence, people tend to stack up at the bottom. And no one's talking about them. No one is trying to really help them. Well, the people with mental health definitely are. And they're really lacking in help. And we need to make sure that we're there for them, because some of these people, they're at different places in life. They've made a couple bad choices, and they find themselves in a place where, you know, there's not a lot of hope. And unfortunately, the fact is that humans live on hope. And when you feel like you've lost it all, you tend to cover things up with drugs, with smoking, other things, because it's not about coping with reality. You don't take these things so you can cope. You take them so you don't have to cope. And I think it's really important that if we can work on mental health and work on the way that we approach these things and get rid of the stigmas, where we actually care about our neighbor and we're looking to work with people on individual levels. The folks over at Mental Health, they're really, really working hard. And they do a lot for the people in this county. So anyway, I think there's a lot of positive there, and I want to help work with them. There's housing. We have a lot of homeless here. We don't see them all the time because they're not sleeping on the courthouse steps. They've been rooming and sleeping on somebody's couch for the last 3 years at a buddy's place. But they're still homeless. And we need to remember them and think about them. And I urge everyone here and everyone in the county to think about that when they go home tonight. Because there's a lot of people that have needs in this county. And sometimes it can't fall to the government to do everything. Sometimes we need to extend a little bit of a hand as a neighbor and as a friend and as human beings. So I'm gonna kind of close it with that because it's 9 o'clock and we're gonna try and cut it off. I'm sorry, there's a few people back there that sound like they may have had some questions, but a lot of folks are getting tired. I've seen a few folks walk out. I really want to thank you all for coming out because it really it's so beneficial to all the candidates involved to get to know you, to get to hear what your concerns are. We can reevaluate our thinking. We may not get everything right. This is not an official meeting. We are not here in an official capacity. We're here to talk about ideas and listen to what your ideas and concerns are. So I really want to thank you all for coming out and participating in free speech and participating in our ability as neighbors to communicate about what our problems are and how we're going to address them in the future. I thank you all so much. I am going to invite Mike up, Mike Newcomb, to close with a word of prayer. And we will adjourn the meeting with that.
Well, I got to say, as a guy who was born here in town, actually a half a block away, and my dad was born in that same building too. Seniors use it a lot now. I care a lot about our county, and so join me in prayer, would you? Father God, I just thank you for this meeting, for your wisdom that we need so badly to be exercised in leadership positions, as has been so clearly articulated tonight. And God, I just thank you for an amazing county that we get to live in, but also our most amazing and precious resource is our people. And so, Lord God, I just thank you for the emphasis on respect and honoring people out of who we are, not necessarily because they deserve it on their own, but as we honor people and respect them for who they are and who God made them to be, we can start to see the potential. And we'll see the potential, we'll see the hope, we'll see the possibilities rather than the negative experiences and the trouble. As the scriptures say, you will always have the poor with you. But it doesn't say don't care about the poor. And so we want to care about every segment of our community, every segment of our county. And so, Lord, for that we need wisdom, we need your grace, your divine help. And with that, we will see positive changes, and we thank you for those in advance. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.